how did the trans fight land in the African American woman's lap? Like, how did the defending yourselves from being heterosexual, well, not heterosexual, but cisgender women, like the definition of women, that was always some shit that was in the white community. And now it seems like the white people have silently backed out of that fight. And at every turn, it's in the African American woman's diaspora. It's just all through. It's now y'all fight. When did that switch happen and why?
Because trans women are men, and men are naturally expect to overtalk women, and so they get out there and they are loud and boisterous. The gay men already kind of spoke out and said they didn't want to be gay best friends with black women because all we want to know is who's in the closet and who are they messing with. And it's like, that makes a lot of sense. Black women want to stay safe. And one thing that happens when men start doing it to one another is the safety usually goes out the window, and that's why they get. I'm not anti-gay. I realize I'm like saying things that really might hurt some gay feelings, and I don't mean to. But that's why
that gay feelings.
And the AIDS and stuff like that affected their communities so harshly. That's why it happened to them so harshly, because kind of safety goes out the window when you think your booty hole is a coochie. So
see, I think is that white people were taught the ethic of the writing on the wall, where black people were taught the ethic of the little engine that could. Once white people see a fight is over with, they move the fuck on to some other shit. And black people will beat a fucking dead horse. White folks was pissed at Chaz Bono. White folks was doubly pissed at fucking Bruce Jenner. But once they figured out it was here to stay, it was over with. And they are no longer in the only time I feel like you hear about white people in this fucking debate is when there is an actual travesty. Like when one of these motherfuckers show up at a gym and beat a bunch of white bitches up. Like, that's the only time you hear white people talking about this particular debate, is when it directly affects their livelihood. Like a motherfucker just come swim around a bunch of high school bitches. And like, oh no. That's when you hear white people. White bitch come and get hit with a volleyball. That's when you hear about white people. Black women just wake up like, why y'all want to be women? Like, why do y'all care? Y'all need to move the fuck on. Y'all got enough battles.
We don't try to fight with them.
Well, I mean, besides the fact of definitely being on the down low, but like I know for me personally,
hold on. Let me say this. Let me just interject this. Though it was a black transgender who had the chick up in arms, Jess Hilarious woke up without being directly addressed and took on a fight that for all intents and purposes didn't affect her, maybe her sensibilities, but didn't affect her livelihood in one way, shape, or the other. And that's what I'm talking about. Like these white girls, when they throw these fucking tirades, it's because one of them niggas came and slammed them on their neck at a wrestling meet. It ain't just because one of them got on Twitter and said some shit and then you want to throw your whole brand in the fucking fray.
I don't think she's trying to.
Hey, look, fam.
I think she just had some comments. I just had some comments which could be held very harshly against me. I thought we were having a different type of a conversation. I can nice it up a lot better than what it sounded like. But I don't think that we're looking to pick a fight. I think that for whatever reason, it is a conversation in the black community because a lot of black men are deciding that they want to be trans because, like I said, they have a real grip on and a real power issue with putting our men while they're going through puberty and while they're going through their peaks of hormones and all this other stuff, putting them together in jail and stopping their availability to have women. And then they go back into the streets and they have these mental issues that are caused by whatever they've experienced in there. And then they perpetrate it on the streets. And that's how they are like And then that's who is speaking up. Those people who have had something perpetrated on them and now they want to dress differently and be a woman and all this other stuff. Now um they're in our neighborhoods and they are very vocal because they're empowered by the LGBTQ movement, which is, really was meant for the white people,
Hmm.
but there's no power in it because there's no there. Like in the end, the LGBTQ movement isn't really going to empower black people. It takes I'm sounding so anti-gay. I don't mean to.
Nah. Talk your shit. Talk your
Hey, yeah.
shit.
Hey, you
This is
sound, you
called the
sound, you sound, you
strain on
sound, you
society.
sound, you sound
The
real
strain.
anti-gay.
Yeah,
Oh,
we this is the strain on
You
society
sound, you sound,
I'm
you
because we
feel,
not.
you
know
sound real
society needs
homophobic
to
right
push.
now.
But I've had
I can't
my
believe the
parents'
things you're saying
friends.
right now. Oh my
Hey,
gosh,
don't let
My
don't let him
so
gas you. Don't let him gaslight you because you kicked his ass in the
No,
last
you
conversation.
don't.
No,
Don't
my
let him
parents'
gaslight you.
friends, like they actually had tried to have a conversation with me, saying that I lacked understanding because I couldn't understand how it should be between a parent and a child if a child is going to cut off their genitalia and before they grow up. And I'm like, so somebody who's never had a sexual experience, who's not allowed to have had a sexual experience and feel with that group of or that bundling of cells and nerve endings, what that feels like when it rubs up against another person that you like. We're supposed to let them cut that piece of their body off because they feel like the other person because they feel like playing dress up. And I'm thinking, how much bitterness would I hold? Because when I grew up, I was taught that castration was a bad thing that happened to eunuchs who were slaves and they didn't have a choice in the matter, and they had an unhappy life. So why would we
Well,
let little children?
I wasn't saying anything. I was just saying, well,
Yeah, so why let
that had ruined my
So,
whole. I
so I would say, in the sense of, well, first off, I'm gonna steer away from sex reassignment, um,
hey,
and
because I
gender
thought they just
why?
removed the bone bristle. I didn't know they
and,
took the
and
whole
gender
move.
reassignment. I'm
Wait
gonna
a
steer
second,
away
Ari.
from it,
We
but
might end up sister wives someplace one day. Why you want to steer away from gender reassignment?
No, I
so
said
let me say this.
I
I
thought they
don't
just
care
moved the bone
about
bristle.
sexual orientation, who it is that you care to love, how it is that you care to love. I give two flying shits. But do I feel like the gay agenda is pushed on our children? Probably. Um, do I feel like it's pushed in society in general? Yes. Um,
There's a trans character in Transformers on television. There's lots of little cartoons that have gay
It's a
characters, and
transformer.
Absolutely.
yes,
Yes. Um, as
Hey, look.
far
I
as
thought that also.
Hey, is
yes.
his
so
name squared?
That
So
part.
I forgot, but he likes to be called they because he doesn't fit in either gender, and
so like
Oh man, that was
the
the
little
same.
so
kid that
That was
plays
the
with
same
him.
my
skit with the
I
nigga
issue
can't
with
with
the
remember.
radio
it,
on the tape.
and I want to say that my issue is petty, but not necessarily. So my pettiness comes in the fact of I can't just be called a woman now. I have to be considered a cis woman.
Thank you.
Um, I can't. Um, Now they want to remove the women symbol off of certain products. As petty as it sounds, but god damn it, a maxi pad is for a woman. Only
Mhm.
women bleed every month. And now you want to take the women
False.
symbol off the pad
False.
because,
False. False.
well,
False. I'm
Trans
sorry,
men are
uh,
not trying to
natural
uh.
do that
born
shit.
women. Let me
Trans men ain't
Oh,
rephrase
hey,
trying to
that.
change the tampon
hey,
tape.
look.
Natural born women.
I'm just fucking with you. You right
No,
about
no, no,
all
no, no.
everything you
But
saying.
you're right.
You're correct. I'm
Only
just fucking with
only
you.
natural born women have a cycle or are able to cycle every month. So
Right,
let
but
me let
trans
me be
men, I don't
Hey,
correct
even feel
about
like
hey,
they're
that.
trying to change
hey.
it.
But here's
I
here's
feel like
what
it's
they'll
the
say to
trans
that.
women, the ones who ain't bleeding, that's trying to change it.
But here's to what they'll
But
say to
I'm
that.
not.
There are natural born women who don't have a cycle naturally. What do you
So,
say to that?
so
That's
just
not
like
the same.
they might still buy always. You don't
Are
know.
they not a woman?
They still
That's not the
women.
same. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm
No,
not.
I'm
I'm
with
not
you.
saying that at
No, I
all.
think that I don't think that you can judge the am I a woman or not a woman
No,
solely on
and
the
I'll never
ability to
do
have a
that.
solely
I'll
on the
never
ability to
do
have a
that.
period because some women can't have periods. Some natural
Nobody
born
said
women.
that. I said them
That's
Right.
dudes
fine.
No, I'm with
that
you. I'm just
claim
trying to.
that they women.
But
That's
in the
claiming
Hey,
having
reality
periods is not a
of
woman.
when you are
So you have a
born with a
penis. Your
vagina,
penis, you don't want it to bleed.
98% of the time you are able to cycle.
Right.
Pads
Mm-hmm.
were created and invented for women
Mm-hmm.
that cycle.
I ain't even
As
mad at you. I don't
defined as a
begrudge you.
person with
I
a
don't begrudge
vagina
y'all for
who
nothing. I
might
don't begrudge
cycle
y'all for
one day.
nothing but talking to me with these eggs on the screen.
Don't do that.
I do not have a professional setup. I told you I was taking my hair down. I let
You
y'all
was
see
on the
my raw
screen. You
hair.
were
Oh,
perfectly
there I
fine.
am. Hey.
She is actively in the process.
She can take them down. It's okay. We the
It's
strain,
fine.
baby. That's what
So
we
the
do.
reality, but the reality is, and how I understand sex and sexuality, is that yeah, I can feel like I'm in the wrong body. I can feel like I want to that I'm not the sex that I am. I can feel like mentally and physically I was born a girl and I'm actually, or mentally I was born a girl and I'm actually a boy. Like I can feel like that. That's okay. I'm not gonna stop my child from dressing up. I'm not gonna stop my child um from binding themselves. I'm not gonna stop my child from identifying as what it is that they want to identify as.
I
Um,
identify as a person with a 6 in their height.
you said what?
You're
ha,
not. You're
ha.
not.
I said
You
I
are
identify as
not
a
one of
person with a
us.
6 in their height.
No, you can't.
Hey, 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 hey,
And that's
Hey, I
hey,
okay.
feel
But
like
hey,
it.
guess what?
I
If that's
feel
what
like
you
it.
believe,
hey.
if you believe that you are six
Okay.
foot one, who am I to tell you you not?
That's
The
all I'm
Okay.
nigga,
saying.
the
But to
nigga with the
me,
tape measure
Hold
that
on,
it's
hold
says
on,
it's
he's
hold on.
five
not
foot
That's
11.
your
it's not
delusion
fair.
reality. Who am
It's
I to
not
tell you that you not? If you say that I am, if you say that I'm not a boy, I'm not a girl,
but that's not fair.
and I identify as them, who am I to say that you don't?
But that's
Like
Hey,
not fair to the child because they don't have a understanding of the world yet, and they don't understand what that stance is doing to them. I had
how
two big
don't they
brothers.
understand
I
though?
had two big because I had two big brothers, and I was in a house with a lot of machoism, where it was cool to be a dude. All the boys got to do all the fun things and go outside and play way more than their mommy kept keeping me in the house to clean up. And at times I remember one wishing, man, I wish I was a dude. I remember pulling on my stuff, thinking I could turn it into a penis if I pulled on it long enough, and then I'd just go hang out with the boys. I remember that. Thank
We all go
God.
through that.
One, thank God I didn't stretch it out, and two, thank God I didn't. Nobody like caught on to that and decided to let me go down that path because I love the way that what I have feels. And I'm not
But
talking about just letting a kid play dress out. I'm letting them. I'm saying letting them think that their body is going to be okay with that. That's not because if you start
are you
somebody on the
talking about
path,
gender reconstruction and all of that? That's what
yeah,
you're talking about?
that stuff, and even letting them live all the way between while they're under your care, letting them live another life. Because if they came to you and they said, "I want it to be an animal," or if they came to you and said, "I want it to be white," if they came to you and said they want it to be anything else that no, that common sense would tell you they can't be, you'd be like, "No," and you'd explain reality to them. I
Hey, yo,
explained to
Tony,
my
I'm gonna
son.
let
I
you
have a
finish.
little boy.
So if
I
Hey,
my
have a boy
Tony.
child
that
was
I'm
to
raising
Hey,
come to
by
me and
Tony, I'm
say,
gonna let you
myself,
Mom,
finish. I'm gonna
and
let
he
you
wants to
finish.
do
But if
feminine
you
things
think,
sometimes.
if you
But
think for any amount of time that we not gonna go back, so you thought anatomically
hey,
we could just
hey.
tug on it.
huh? No.
You thought,
I mean, I thought about it. I was trying because it was like, what's the big difference? What
I
but
is
mean,
the
it's a
big
difference.
difference?
You thought you could
every
I
just
had
girl
no
goes
idea there
through
was
that.
when you little, you
Does
don't know
every
there's a
boy not go through
hole
that?
and a uterus,
no,
huh?
no. Every boy doesn't tuck.
Mm-mm.
No,
That's
but
a very specific
no.
thing that you might
Okay,
want
well,
to
a
address
lot of
if your
girls. I
son's
used to
doing
wish
that.
that I was a boy. I wanted to stand up and pee.
Hey, look,
Yes.
hey, look.
I remember
wishing,
peeing directly
wishing,
down on my panties because I did
wishing, and
not
things
understand
like
why my
that
brother stood up.
are are one thing. If your son comes into the room and tucks his shit,
No,
you should be concerned.
no, but I'm saying my son,
Why? Because
he's
he's
asked me to
gay?
paint his nails
What might be
because he
considered
sees me
gay?
doing it. He sees
Because
that
he's
I
as
just
having
want to know
body
where y'all
dis
see my.
because he's having
I
body
just want to know where y'all
dysmorphia,
see all
and
these dicks so early.
here is what I want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you gay, you gay.
Mm-hmm.
You can't help who you love.
hmm
I was born straight, so I can accept people being born gay. I can understand it. I didn't choose girls. I never made a decision. I like girls. I never considered boys. It was never a choice. It was never a thought process. So I don't think it's a choice. I think you're born the way you are because I was born the way I am.
hmm
With that being said, we got to get to the point where we can leave room for you to like things that you like and still be who you are. We,
hmm
like she was saying, when she was a girl trying to looking at what the boys were doing
Mm-hmm.
and longing for what they wanting to do what they were doing made her say, well, damn it, I want to be a boy then.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing about her
I
that
think that was
precluded
based
her
on the
from going
treatment.
out and playing basketball and doing those things and being a girl. You can be a girl and do those things. You can be a boy and do the other things. If you want to skip rope, skip rope. If you want to play with dolls, play with your dolls. But you're a boy. You're gonna be a boy forever because we get into this some bullshit where we say, well, what is a woman? What does it mean to be a woman? Or what does it mean to be a man? I couldn't fucking tell you. Because a woman could exemplify all the same characteristics that anybody would sit here and try to tout that was a man. And a man could exemplify all the characteristics that anybody would sit here and say was a woman. We can all play in those fields. But what we can't do is a man be a woman and a woman be a man. Because those things are genetic. It's a scientific fact. You're a boy, you're a girl. You're a boy because you have an XY
Absolutely not.
chromosome. You're a girl because you
Absolutely
got an
not.
XX. That's it.
Society,
That's all.
society, and science has told us that that's not reality.
No, they
Society
did.
and science has told us that you are whatever the hell you want to be, and
No,
whatever
that ain't
money
what
can
science
buy.
told us. That ain't what science
It,
told us.
That doesn't make
it,
it right.
That
it,
ain't what
I,
science told us. Society might be trying to say that. Science ain't told us that. Science told us a long time ago what a boy and a girl was. They figured that shit out and they ain't. Science ain't questioned it since they answered it.
I'm not
Mike,
saying that science is
Hey,
not telling us who is a
Michael
boy and a girl,
Jackson.
but
That's literally what you just said.
they're allowing us to be what we want to be. They're
Science
But
ain't
allowing us
doing
Michael
to
that.
have those
Jackson made
gender
all that money.
Science
reconstructions.
ain't
Like
saying that you are a
fixed his
woman now. The
vitiligo and
science
became all
only
like.
tells you you was a woman because you had an X and an X chromosome. That is the only requirement for womanhood, for female.
Science is now saying you can go and get your penis cut off and get a vagina inserted, or you can get your vagina sewn up and get a penis put on. That's what
It don't make
science
you
is
a man.
telling us now.
It don't make you a man though.
In science and on your certificate or how you present yourself, who's
That's not
gonna know
science
besides the
though.
person who
That's
did
not
it and the
science.
person
That's
who raised you?
society. That
uh,
nobody got into a lab and said, "Yeah, now a girl, now a boy."
Who's gonna
No,
know
uh,
besides the
nobody got
person
into a
that
lab and
raised
said
you
that shit.
and the person who did the
Motherfuckers
surgery?
got on a ordinance on a form, and they said we gonna put this on here, but ain't no scientist
If you
redefining what
notice,
a woman and a man is.
if you notice, it's gotten to the point now when you go into certain places and you fill out forms and they ask you, are you a man and a woman? Or they ask you, do you identify as male or female? And then they have to turn around and ask you, were you born male or female?
mhm.
That's not science.
That's
That's
because
society.
science has allowed us to be whatever we want to be.
Science hasn't changed anything. Science just changed. That doesn't mean they actually changed us. Science can say Pluto ain't a planet all they want. I remember it. It's out there.
here,
It's a planet.
here's the thing.
that's
Did it
but
shrink?
that's but that's
What
something
changed
completely
about
different.
Pluto
That's
that
like
made it
them
not a
saying
planet?
Ed McMahon wasn't the Wasn't the publishing clearinghouse guy?
But here's the
What?
No,
thing:
I'm saying
woman, and man ain't a genetic denoter. They're
Mm-hmm.
colloquialisms.
Yeah.
The
So you
term
could
you looking for is male and
male or
female.
female.
and that's the other thing.
Anything outside of that is up for debate.
Yeah.
Anything outside of that is up for debate. And that's the issue. Once a motherfucker address that issue, then the conversation will get somewhere. A woman could be what the fuck ever. Because a woman
Yeah.
is an old English term that means married to a man. That's all it means. Wilfman, the wife of a man. That's where
Wait,
the term woman comes from.
wait. So what did they call? What did they call the people who weren't married?
What? You
What
have to
did
do
they
Jezebel.
call the female people who weren't married?
Jezebels.
unwed,
Oh,
motherfucker. They wasn't women. It wasn't women.
No, she was called an old maid.
They weren't women.
She
Women
was
were
an
the
old
wives
maid.
of men.
I agree with that. Women and men, that fucking title could be viewed as subjective. Like but genetically and scientifically speaking, male female is what you're born with, is the genetics, and that is what they cannot replicate. You can try to follow whatever characteristics it is that you think would make you a woman, but that's never going to make you a female.
and when you do it to a child, they're gonna have to fight their whole life against their own body, and they never
Now let
get to
me
have
say,
the feeling of those the sex. They never get to have the feeling that their body would have gave them.
But I also feel like if in that case, all right, they either fighting against their body their whole life, or they keep their gender the same, and then they fight against their being, who they feel they are their whole life. No matter what, there's going to be a conflict, and fight on it is easier to solve a physical conflict than it is to solve a conflict of identity. So you can make yourself look like whatever you want to, and that will make your inside, who you are mentally, a lot better. It makes it easier. So
Why
that
do we tell this to white people who want to be black?
Hey, you leave
that's a
Rachel
whole
Dolezal
different
out of this.
subject.
that you gonna start an issue talking about Rachel Dolezal to that nigga. But yeah, I mean, we should tell us motherfuckers to white people all the time.
one of us is waiting for the adoption papers to come through any day now.
So petty.
Like, we need to tell white people, hey, you can try to put on whatever it is that you think makes you black, but you are never going to be us. You copy our mannerisms, the way that we walk, the way that we talk, the
That's
way that we
how I
speak.
feel when I see a man in a dress talking about and who is talking down. I don't care if it's a man in a dress living his life, but when I see one who's talking down on women and saying that, well, you can't control me coming in this space or that space. I mean, to me, it's disrespectful that you're going to cosplay a gender. You're going to decide that what is womanhood is to put on all this makeup and all this rape bait, basically, and then stuff that if you are a real woman walking down the street, you have to be worried about anyway. And
They're
then
but they're just as worried.
Hold on. Now,
So
now,
they
now,
they they're just as that like
I
it's
was,
so.
look,
Go ahead.
I was just refereeing earlier, but now I just remember some shit. Every like 12 days, I get bamboozled out here by a man, and whose fault is that? I think some of that blame lies on women. Cause I drive up behind this nigga, and he has the aesthetic, the back aesthetic of a nicely built woman. And then I get in front of the nigga, and it's this nigga every time. I'm like,
Mhm.
damn it, it's this nigga. And he a cluck. That's what make it even worse. He a fucking cluck.
men need to
So
refamiliarize themselves with the aesthetic of a woman's body. And if they looked at the old day statues, you'd see there were big curves everywhere. It wasn't no small back bitches. Everybody was a big batch, grain, fear, farming bitch back in the day.
That's because
Do you been looking at these white women?
People only like big boned, big body women
These
back then
television
because
hoes.
if you were smaller, we thought you were about to die.
Well, go back to thinking like that.
You
Shit.
like fat bitches back
No,
then.
now we know if you're smaller, there's not the plague out this motherfucker.
That ain't it. They a lot of big bitches back then because if you was fat, people assumed you could eat.
You had money. You had
So
money.
that's it. We like, all right, well, you know where food is. So yeah, hey, big girl. Hey, go on, big girl, what you gonna do? Go on, big girl, what you gonna do? So you must be wealthy.
Hey, come here. Are you ticklish?
I forgot how we got here. I'm sorry.
Because we were talking about
we
black women
always
taking
forget
on
how
the
we get places.
because we were talking
Yeah.
about black women taking on a transgender plight, and y'all sufficiently answered for me. And we can move the fuck on. I'm glad y'all
Oh,
stayed
I'm
here.
glad you back, Ari. I'm glad. I was worried you might have left out because I don't want to offend.
No, you didn't offend me. So I'll say this because we about to move on. But do I necessarily agree, or do I think that it's a good decision to make for a child pre puberty to make such a permanent decision? Though,
Mhm.
um, it's my job as a parent and as a human to protect them in the sense of I will inform them that I don't think that it's a good decision, but at the end of the day, it's still their decision.